In this video, I am breaking down exterior siding products that I would never use on the exterior of my house if I wanted to have a healthy home that was not going to have mold problems. Siding is our first line of defense on the walls to keep water out, but it also plays a huge role in vapor management. And that's where we oftentimes get sideways. Let's get into it. The first one on our list is fiber cement siding planks, also known as James Hardie or Hardie board. It's just thin planks of cement that are nailed to the exterior of your house. Now the problem with this is that this is a reservoir cladding, meaning it absorbs and stores water, and it's sitting right there up against the exterior of your house. And so as that water wicks through, or it's pushed through via the sun, through vapor drive, it's then going to be acting on your building. If I want plank, I'm just gonna use wood. Wood dries out really well. It's not gonna hold that moisture up against the outside of my building nearly as badly. And the argument is that fiber cement is less maintenance. Well, it is marketed to say that, but my understanding of it is it's only slightly less maintenance. It might go 30% longer between needing painted over wood. Now it is cheaper than some wood sidings like cedar, which is rot resistant and quite expensive, but it is more expensive than your cheaper woods like pine. Now I'm biased against this product because I like wood and I hate imitations of things. I like the real thing, but it can be used safely with very low mold risk if we just install it over a rain screen. And real briefly, what a rain screen is just vertical furring strips on the exterior of your house that allow for airflow to come up behind the siding. So usually they're going to be like 3/4 of an inch thick. They're fastened through your wall into the studs, and then the siding will be installed over the top. Then air can flow up from the bottom and down from the top, and you've got both a drainage gap and a ventilation gap. That's gonna take care of the problem of having that wet siding up against your house. It's gonna allow it to dry out. It's no longer gonna be a problem. Moving on to the next one, it's raining real bad, so what better time to show you than my own shop with T111 siding. Total junk, look up there. See that? There's a joint behind there. Now it's Z-flashed, but all of the water comes and it hits the side of the building here, and you get rot problems over time. When I bought this building, I had to replace a bunch of these sheets here, and that's because it's just prone to failing. It's gonna happen over time. Now, probably this strip I put here to cover it up and trim it out, like most T111 projects have, just makes it worse. But anytime you have a wall that's more than, say, 10 feet tall, you're gonna have to have a joint there. The big problem with this one is rain itself. It's gonna hit up top of that board, it's gonna get down behind that board, it's gonna rot the bottom out. Or it's gonna get past that Z-flashing and it's gonna rot the pieces out beneath it. From a distance, T111 looks like vertical planks that are tongue and grooved with a beveled edge. But what it really is just plywood sheets that you've got a tongue and groove on these sides here. They're installed vertically, and then that Z-flashing goes across the top between joints between sheets. They are not installed over sheathing. This acts as both a siding and a sheathing to the house. It's oftentimes used in pole barn style construction, but I've seen a lot of it in other places. For example, in the mountains in California, back when I was living there, tons of houses made from T111. This is a fast and cheap product. I had all sorts of leaks and mold problems in this building when I bought it 5 years ago. It's really bad at both air sealing and keeping water out, and it's just not a product that should really be used on houses, in my opinion. The next one on our list is stucco. Stucco has all of the same reservoir cladding problems that the fiber cement had that we just talked about, except it's even more sealed off to air, so it can't dry as well as that. Now, historically speaking, stuccos were made with lime, and lime-based stucco could dry 5 to 10 times better than our modern Portland cement-based ones. So it's not that we've used a bad product over time, it's that we've modernized the way we build and made it to where this method no longer works well. We also used to use it over lots of masonry buildings or adobe buildings in the Southwest, versus today it's being used over stick frame buildings. And these stick frame buildings oftentimes have it applied directly up against the sheathing. This is a huge problem. Now, when I say against the sheathing, they may have some tar paper or even some WRB in there. It's only in some fairly recent code updates that they're now requiring a vent layer, which is usually a type of mesh product that allows for drainage behind the stucco. With that vent layer, this becomes a much safer product. But even with that vent in wet climates, I still see this as a very high-risk product for mold. Now in the Southwest, you're probably not at a whole lot of risk because you guys don't get a lot of rain there. Now I know even in Southern California, there's usually several months of the winter that are quite moist. so you're not totally scot-free. I personally would avoid modern stuccos if I'm in a wet climate. And even if the code in your area is not the most updated one that requires a vent layer behind it, I would absolutely never use stucco without that vent layer, dry climate or not. And the last one on my list, and by far, in my opinion, the dumbest option, is sticky stone. I don't know what everyone else calls this, but I did briefly work masonry. I was a hod carrier, and we called it sticky stone. It's manufactured stone that is adhered to the exterior sheathing of a building by mortar. Now, oftentimes it will have a wire mesh in there. When we were putting it on, now this was probably 6 or 7 years ago, it didn't even have tar paper behind it. It would just get a wire mesh, and then the masons would put mortar over it and they stick the stones on. Now, it's supposed to look like real stone, but in my opinion, it always looked really cheap and fake. I see a lot of it in subdivisions on the pillars or across the front face on the first few feet up, but it looks really tacky in my opinion, and that's not even considering the fact that we've got another reservoir cladding. These fake stones will absorb the moisture from outside, and then they will then push it up against your building. Now, code updates that are being rolled out are starting to require vent layers on this, but only in some of the most recent versions of the code. Now, I personally think this product just looks tacky. It doesn't usually look like real stone, and it's almost always used in ways that make no sense. It'll be like the first 4 feet of a house, only across the front. It's like, well, if you want to have stone, do stone on the exterior of your foundation up to the end of that block level. And that actually looks like it has some historic precedent and would actually make sense. Whereas throwing this sticky stone up across just to be decorative, it looks really dumb in my opinion. It makes no sense, and it's a really high risk for mold. Now, if we put it over a vent layer, we do drastically reduce the risk of that moisture being transferred into the house from that reservoir cladding. But in my opinion, just avoid these fake products. Your house will look much better if you just do like a vinyl siding and commit to it, and just accept that you don't have the money for a nicer siding rather than throwing a few $1,000s at a little ledge of fake stone around the outside. It's okay to have a simple house, and I oftentimes think that when people just commit to being simple and not trying to make their house look a certain way, it oftentimes winds up looking a whole lot better. Now, I think a lot of people probably expected vinyl siding to be on this list, and in the past, I probably would put it there. But over time, I've realized that the way that vinyl siding is installed allows for a decent amount of air to get up behind things and dry it out. You can see this by the way it blows off houses in storms. You know that wind is getting up behind it if it's able to blow it off the house. Now, I don't like vinyl in general. It's a toxic product, horrible when it burns, and it is vapor closed. But the way it's installed, it's kind of loose. If you go up and tap it, it kind of bounces. There is some room for air to get behind it and dry things out just from the way that it's installed. If you're really serious about building a home that's truly healthy, one that helps you feel better and live longer, I've just released my first in-depth guide on how to do that. It's going to walk you through every step of the building process, every material choice you're going to come across. It contains everything you need to have the confidence to go out and work on your own project, whether that's with a builder or if you're doing it yourself. It's quite expensive. The link to it is down below, and if you can't afford it, we've got plenty of awesome free information for you on this channel here. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.